right, Gate 14 podcast. We are now joined by the People's Insider with Rogers Sportsnet, Ben Nicholson-Smith. It is trade deadline time, and the Jays are a wagon. How we feeling, BNS? How we feeling?
Feeling great, guys. It's nice to be joining you, talking some baseball. When we talked a few months ago in spring training, I think there was like such a tentative kind of vibe, right? Like what's going to happen? And I don't know if anyone really believed that this was possible. And yet here they are, 4 games ahead of the Yankees, just rolling. So it's a really fun time for the Jays and their fans.
Is this the most busy you've been in a long time? Because I turn on the TV and you are on a different show every single time.
Yeah, it's definitely a busy time. It's wild because, as you guys know, I mean, there are so many times in the baseball calendar where it gets like this. Like playoffs gets pretty busy, then winter meetings gets pretty busy. So this is one of those times, and it's kind of just on the phone constantly, not like calling necessarily, although some calls, but a lot of texts, a lot of like refreshing things, and yeah, just trying to stay on top of it all and see where this goes in the next 10 days or so.
Do you get more excited for the trade deadline or winter meetings?
Oh man, I'm gonna say trade deadline, because trade deadline, it's almost like it's in the context of this long baseball season, right? And it's like you're watching these teams move gradually and shift their positions very gradually, and then suddenly at July 31st, there are these big movements where some teams decide they're out of it, they can't win, and then other teams decide they're going for it, like this is their year. And so I think there's just that natural excitement that comes in. And also at the winter meetings, there's no real deadline. So Scott Boras can always, play things out until January. Whereas here, you can't wait. Like it's now.
Yeah, that's fair. And before we go into the trade stuff, I wanted to talk about the team a little bit here. We're recording this on Tuesday, so they haven't played yet on Mad Max Day. But what has it been like for you to watch this team? Because obviously we talked about it with Keegan when we had Keegan on a couple of months ago, and he can't really like cheer or like celebrate or be like a fan of the team. Is a little part of you rooting for these little blue-collared Blue Jays, or what's the vibe like for you?
The vibe is incredible. I mean, anytime that you're covering athletes who are achieving their goals, like it's so hard to get to the major leagues, let alone to succeed there. And so when you're covering a group of players that they're achieving their highest professional goals, like of course they're going to be in pretty good moods. They're reaching their dreams, in some cases maybe even exceeding them. So the vibes are good. I think too, Blue Jays fans deserve this. Like it has been so, I don't have to tell you guys, like it has been so rough for this team. The last time they won a playoff game, 2016, that's 9 years ago. I mean, that's a long time. So, they haven't won any playoff games yet. So let's, I'm not trying to get too far ahead of things here, but I just think it's an exciting time. And I think fans deserve this. And so I'm really, really happy for Blue Jays fans that they get to experience this after all this time.
Do you feel a personal gain that more people click on your stuff when they're good? Because we feel the same.
Oh, our numbers have been insane the past couple weeks.
Yeah, I always want people to, engage, listen, read. I'm probably not. Sometimes like, executives or people in the game will say to me like, oh, like I know you guys have to, get clicks. And I guess that's a part of it. We do want people to read the articles at sportsnet.ca, but more so we want to provide really thorough coverage. We want to be on the big stories. We want to be advancing things, adding commentary, analysis, all that stuff. And then hopefully the clicks come with that, if that makes any sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I guess we can go into the trade stuff now is why we have you here. I mean, not what have you been hearing, but has your phone been buzzing with like the Blue Jays being active? Like, is this the most active deadline you think it will be for the Toronto Blue Jays under the Ross and Mark tenure?
So it's, looking back at 2016, because I looked back at a bunch of their trades, and then so 16, obviously the very first year that they got in here, they made, I want to say it was 7 trades. So I'm not going to predict they're going to exceed that. I don't think that record is going to be broken anytime soon. Like Ross came in here and he was just firing, just going off, making trade after trade. And then that kind of, it got lost to the history books. It's a long time ago now, but I think they're going to be really active. They're motivated. They're trying to add, they want to get the good players. We'll see what happens. There are a lot of players out there. And at this point, 9 days out, in a weird way, it's still a long way to the deadline. But they want to add, they're motivated, and in my opinion, they will add.
for every single win the Blue Jays get in this little streak, do you increase the threshold of the players you think they can get? Because I go right away. I'm like, they're not going to get the best players. And then they just keep winning and keep winning. And it just changed my mind. It's like, why don't we just go out and get
Yeah,
the
well,
best
because
players?
because we were talking about players to put on this thumbnail, and Avery's like, let's put Suarez on. I'm like, I don't think Suarez is going to be a Blue Jay. Like, that's a little bit of an unrealistic thing, but I guess if they keep winning, it kind of maybe is a realistic expectation to have, right? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. I think like the more they win, then the more realistic a first round bye becomes, which I mean, that would just be huge just to avoid the 3 game wild card randomness of playing whoever it is, the Mariners or, the Rays or something like that. Like you just don't want to do that if you can avoid it. So, people, the haters are going to have their doubts about the Toronto Blue Jays and how they got here. But the fact is, the Blue Jays are in first place by 4 games. So they're in an amazing position. And I think with that, you want to build on that position. You don't want to say, like, oh, all right, like, well, I guess we'll see what happens. You want to be as proactive as possible in trying to make this team as good as possible to create distance between the Yankees. And maybe the Yankees keep kicking it around and getting in their own way, and then they're never a factor anyway, and then that's fine. But, the Yankees could go out and add some good players too. They probably will. So I think the Jays should be motivated to ensure that they get that first round bye, which almost sounds wild to say because they've never had one in the history of their franchise, but that would be a big deal. So I think they should be motivated to do that, and I think they will be.
And I wanted to go into how you break your trades, because apparently, according to Twitter right now, Gregory Soto is probably like on his way to Toronto, according to some of the tweets that I've been seeing from these make believe insiders. When do you get the opportunity to know that you're allowed to announce a trade or like a signing or anything along those lines? Like, do you have to confirm it with like the higher ups, or how like when are you allowed to break it?
Yeah. So, I love talking about this stuff, and I've, worked really hard over the years to try to get to a point that I can break some trades. I definitely don't have, I definitely have the humility to realize that I'm not going to break every trade, and the other people are going to break them too. And that there are the Jeff Passons and Ken Rosenthal's of the world out there, and those guys do great work. And there's some fans out there that are also plugged in, and hey, like the BKs of the world, like that's amazing. Like good for them. Johnny, I know you've broken some stuff. So that, but to answer your question, for me, like it's not really a question of being allowed. It's more a question of like, as soon as I have the information from one or more people who would know, then I run with it. That's that. My bosses they trust me. They're really supportive as far as, not needing to micromanage what I do. And hopefully over the years, I've established that I'm not, just sharing every last like Twitter rumor and, positioning it as my own. So, there have been so many times like over the years where someone tells me something and I sit on it. Like I had people telling me that Ohtani was going to be a Blue Jay. And then I was like, are we sure about this? And I'm so glad I waited, because that would not have done anyone any kind of service. So you just hold back, they're talking. And then those discussions led to him being a Dodger. So that was that. Same with, this is a more positive example, but over the winter, working with Shai Davidi, we were hearing from a couple people, not necessarily people who were like directly involved, but people indirectly, that the Jays had a deal with Santandere. This was on like the Thursday. And we were like trying to confirm it, sat on it. We just wrote that they were talking. And of course, they signed Santandere on the Monday. So, sometimes you wait and you're like, man, I really wish that I had, had that extra person get back to me or had that extra thing. But end of the day, I just never want to mislead fans. So I would rather be right like 5 times and wrong 0 times than right 10 times and wrong 1 time.
And speak about that like anxiety you have, because when I used to break the call ups, it was from people that were directly involved in it majority of the time. So I was like, I knew they were going to be true. But like after I would send the tweet and then my phone would explode with notifications, I got like a little nervous. I was like, I really hope like this is true. I don't want to be like an internet meme. Is a little part of you get like nervous to that extent after you break something, because you don't want to turn into the guy like the Otani's on the plane type of guy, right?
Oh, exactly. Like I think that there is of course, a little bit of a buzz. Like you're kind of just like anxious. Yeah, it's like this anxious buzz after I tweet something, even if it's from people who like should know, and have no reason to mislead me. Like, let's not for trade deadline, but let's say it's in the off season and it's like the agent of the player who tells me, which wouldn't be the case for mid-season trades, but usually. But let's say it's the off season, there's a signing and the actual agent involved tells me. Even then, there's this little bit of relief when I see Ken Rosenthal tweet the same thing. So, yeah, of course. But you want to be first as well. And at the end of the day, though, I don't think that it's just about who's first and who's not. And I think that, I'd be curious to hear what you guys think about this as fans and media people yourselves. But for me, I think that so much of it is like commentary and analysis. And I'm not going to beat myself up. If I break 0 trades this trade deadline, but I provide amazing analysis and, I'm able to be prompt, I'll be good with that. Like the home run version for me is I'm breaking every single trade and doing the analysis, but there's so much that goes into it. And a lot of the time, if a trade is made, you want to have the commentary of what does this mean? And I think that's the part where, hopefully 100% of the time after the Blue Jays make a trade, I can at least help answer what does this mean?
That I think looking, because when you tweet it, I know that's true every time you tweet it.
Yeah,
I think
that's like you're based on your reputation, though.
The
right?
most important part as like someone who's just scrolling timeline all the time. But I want to get into some Anthony Santandere talk. The talk is that he's not going to be there. But does that add some fun moves in a way that the clarity of Santandere is probably not the piece that he's going to be for the rest of this season?
Yeah, man, what a turn of events for this team. Like just to be where we are toward the end of July and still no timeline, still no clarity. I mean, it's pretty imaginable. And John Schneider said he hopes that Santander is going to play, but I think pretty imaginable that, it might not happen at this point. I don't know. He might not. It's just hard to say. So where that leaves the Jays, like I think right now they probably have 3 spots on the team on the position player side where they could reasonably look to upgrade, where you go Varsho maybe for Lo Perfido, you go Andres Jimenez for Leo Jimenez, and then you still have Will Wagner, where it's like, can you get like a bit more of a bat than Will Wagner? And that would have been the Santander spot. So I don't know. I mean, I expect that they're going to be pretty motivated in checking on hitters around the league. Someone like Ramon Laureano would be perfect, but I think he'd be a pretty good fit. I don't know where you guys land on him in particular. But I think the price will be pretty high too. And I had someone with another team say like, yeah, like Laureano's probably going to cost a lot. So, that complicates things too, because they need so much help in the bullpen.
How many years does he have left?
I think he has an option after this year.
Okay.
There you go. I want to talk about prospects in the Jays system. Is there anyone you truly think is untouchable for the Jays?
I want them all traded.
Yeah. Despite the fact that you guys seem to, know the system pretty well. And I know you guys were in Vancouver recently. So that says a lot, Johnny, that you're willing to just let him go.
I'm a win now guy. I'm always a win now guy.
I agree, by the way. I think like every chance to win, like take it. Who cares if their run differential isn't amazing? You have a chance to win right now, try to win, because it's all short series and you can make your team a lot better than it was on April the 15th,
And as a Jays fan, I also have PTSD. Like I know people get mad at me when because I'm not a prospect guy, want them all traded, yada yada yada. But I used to be the guy that was like, we can never part ways with like a Nate Pearson. Like we can never part ways with like a Ricky Tiedemann. We can never part ways with these type of guys. And it just kind of shows, man. Like if you read the comment section under the Jose Barrios trade when that got traded, everyone was saying Jays got fleeced. Like he gave up Martin, Simeon Woods Richardson. Like it's just a question mark when you're trading for an actual major league talent. That's my point with it. And I know people can give the other aspect of the trade talk, but that's where I stand on that.
I tend to agree. I think that like if you're trying to win and make your team better, like you can kind of applaud that sentiment. And no one wants to see someone go completely reckless. Like you're not going to trade, Arjun Namala for a rental. Like we all understand that. But I think there's a really strong case to be made for trading a lot of guys. Now, Namala, just given the age, the early season production, I know he's kind of struggling now, which actually kind of reinforces that I wouldn't want to trade him because, you're not trading him at the top of his value. He's so young. I'd probably stay away from him. Savage, I would probably only trade if you're getting a controllable major league starting pitcher back, like a Joe Ryan. Obviously, if you're getting Joe Ryan back, I think it's fine to trade Savage. That's an okay trade to make. Otherwise, I would trade anyone personally. I mean, I don't proclaim myself to be like a prospect expert, but I do spend a lot of time looking at the trade deadline. And when you look at the trade deadline, like looking back at 2021, 4 years ago, there were like 5 good prospects traded all deadline. You look at the Jays' tenure under Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro. They've traded like 0 prospects they regret. Say what you will about the front office, like they just haven't given up guys they really regret. So I think it's fine to be aggressive and to be cautious, like while you're doing it, and internally be thorough. But end of the day, like if you can find a way to get a couple shutdown relievers and a bench bat, yeah, you got to find a way to do that.
Have you been hearing that it's going to be very expensive for people? Or, I mean, I guess we won't know totally till some moves actually get made, but it felt like the Jays like got good players back for decently, like they were good moves.
Like Jordan Groshans at the time was like a touted prospect.
But last year they got good people back. Do you think it's going to be a lot for some of these guys that we're hearing, or less than we think?
I actually think a lot. Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot. Where I was talking to someone today who said there's just not pitching out there, which is kind of bad for the Blue Jays because they need pitching. So yeah, I just think when you look around, there's not much out there on the starting pitching side. I don't know I'd be curious to hear actually like where you guys land on how they should approach the starting pitching thing. I think they clearly need relievers, like zero doubt in my mind, minimum 1, probably minimum 2, maybe 3 relievers if one of them is more of a long relief guy. But where do you guys land on the starting pitching side?
I love what BK brought up. So BK tweeted, build the Toronto Blue Jays pitching from the bullpen. Like, just get it, because right now they have pitchers that can get you to the 4th, 5th inning, right? Like, I mean, I trust Scherzer to give you, hopefully I'm knock on wood, 5 innings of 2-3-run baseball, keep you in a game, and then go to like a shutdown guys out of the bullpen. I don't hate that type of strategy, like Tigers-esque last year, but a little bit better because you actually have 5 pitchers. But I don't hate that building from the bullpen aspect of it. That's where
my thought is, you don't get to use 5 starters in the playoffs, so why would you go like 5 starter mode anyway?
Fair.
If you can get some guys who, sure, you can take your starters, put them in the pen, but I just think if you build a pretty good bullpen, this team 2023, unfortunately, they're a pretty good bullpen, and they found a way to win a bunch of games. The bats are way better.
But the bats are way better now.
So I think it's probably the right way to do it.
Yeah, I can see the case for that for sure. And then maybe if you add like I'm not saying specifically these people, but like maybe a Steven Matz type, someone who's able to like go in there and then maybe start if you need. Like if things were to go badly with Scherzer in the thumb, if Manoah just needs a bit more time, he's just not quite ready to come back on August 15th, whatever the case, now all of a sudden you need a starter. Okay, you acquired this bulk type pitcher that can go in between. But just hearing from John Schneider and even some of the players this week, it's like they really think, and I'm sure you guys have heard this too in your conversations with them, but like they really like what's going on, which is like not a shock. They're the best team in the major leagues for the last 2 months. So they were really enjoying what's going on. And I don't think they want to like disrupt that by like bumping out someone who's doing a great job. Like, yeah, exactly. Are you going to tell Eric Lauer, like, hey, we just got Andrew Heaney, like, you have to go to the bullpen? Like, that just feels like kind of a rough conversation to have. So to me, this is where maybe you get a bulk reliever, or like, look, if you can get like an actual stud, Joe Ryan's available, or even like, someone close to that, then you can have a different conversation. But this is where bullpen to me is the simplest thing. There is no scenario, like zero scenario, where they don't need bullpen help.
Yeah, and I think the bullpen, like the guys aren't going to. It's not going to ruin locker room dynamic by picking up a lockdown reliever. Like I like David Bednar. I'm biased, obviously, because I know him, but I love a David Bednar type of guy in the bullpen or something along those lines to really add to those shutdown. Because Yimi Garcia is like a question mark right now, right? I believe he slips in the bath or whatever, and then now it's like his elbow or shoulder. What is it with Yimi?
It's elbow. Yeah. No, it's kind of rough. Yeah, it's not looking good. He's slipped going into the hot/cold tub, then now dealing with the elbow issue. So hard to know what to expect there. And yeah, I mean, with all respect to the guys in the Blue Jays bullpen now, and I know you guys are big drool for Brule guys, and that's like, I'm here for that kind of turn of phrase, but you probably can find a way to, potentially upgrade there.
I have a hot take, and I was getting berated on Twitter for this. Mitch Keller does not move the needle for me. For me, you're essentially just adding another guy that you already technically kind of have, in just terms of like a 2 or a 3 arm. Like for me, a needle mover is like a 1, but there's no ones available right now. And what really made me feel a little bit better about the second half was seeing Gossman yesterday, how good he was. Velo was up, more rest obviously, which obviously helps for it as well, but I think there's going to be no ones on the market. That the name brand ones are going to be on the market, like Alcantara and Zach Gallen. But you look at those guys' stats, you pull back the curtain, they're not ones, right? Like it's a name, right? So where are you at with like those type of Mitch Keller type of guys? It's going to cost a lot probably for a Mitch Keller.
Yeah, so this is the thing. Like, I agree with you. It's not the time to add a project. Like, Sandy Alcantara in the offseason, great. Get him in the pitching lab, get him and Pete Walker working together, perfect. In the middle of the season where you need results right away, I don't know that it's worth the price. Now, Edward Cabrera, maybe, do you consider him an ace? That's, we'll see. Gallen, I agree with you. Like, there's some questions there. So if you get to like a Mitch Keller, I think he's a good pitcher. And I think like, would he make the Toronto Blue Jays better? 100%. Like, you want him. But then it's a question of price, to your point, where it's like, okay, if the Pirates have one of the few available good starting pitchers on the market, they're going to want a lot back for him. So do you want to pay that price to get a Mitch Keller, or do you want to use those same prospects to maybe go out and get 2 relievers? Then you acquire like a bulk guy to toss into the bullpen at the last minute, like a 3:58 p.m. deal on deadline day for a top 26 prospect. And then you're kind of covering yourself that way. I mean, to me, it's like you can only do so much with the prospects you have. And I think the Jays are motivated. I think they're going to be aggressive, but their farm system, it's improved, but it's not just overflowing with prospects. So that's going to play a big role in determining what they can do.
Is there something to be said about being comfortable trading with certain teams? Because it's just like, why would we not just trade with Cleveland every single time we need a new player? You think that's a thing for that?
Yeah, I think, well, and Cleveland makes sense too, obviously, with Clase and Cade Smith and Eric Sabrowski. Like, someone said to me that the Jays should go get Eric Sabrowski, the Canadian. I mean, that could be interesting. So, yeah, with Cade Smith too, of course. Yeah. So I think Cleveland, Arizona, Pittsburgh, the Jays have like really good familiarity there with those GMs. At the same time, like, they have familiarity with like a lot of them, like pretty much everyone at this point. Ross Atkins is kind of one of the more tenured GMs in the league. So he's got relationships everywhere, and he understands, which ways certain teams are going to lean. So probably it helps that teams like the Guardians, Pirates, and Diamondbacks that the Blue Jays have traded a lot with are probably going to be really active at the deadline. So maybe that's like a small advantage.
I've really talked myself into, and maybe it's just Twitter, but I fucking love Stephen Quan, man. I know that'll probably cost just the most insane package because he's an all-star, coming off an all-star game. I think he has a couple years of control left, but Ross Atkins is the king of making moves like we never expected. For example, the Whit Merrifield one 3 years ago, I didn't even know he was available at the deadline, and they picked him up for Max Castillo. Do you see a type of move that happens this trade deadline because Ross is so like secretive with this type of stuff that's just out of left field, a guy you had no idea was available?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm not like, I don't know the names that they're targeting. Like, I'm not like pretending to, I'm not playing coy. Like, I wish that I could sit here and like list off 50 names that the Jays are like trying to get right now. And we can definitely say that they're extremely thorough. They check on everyone. Without a doubt, they've checked on those Guardians relievers and every pitcher available. But for someone like Stephen Quan, I honestly don't know, if there's any kind of traction there. I guess like in kind of an amazing way, they have like, almost like a right-handed Stephen Quan and Ernie Clement, or like a Stephen Quan light and Nathan Lucas. Like, they have a lot of guys in this roster who have that skill set to an extent, but Stephen Quan is kind of like a different level. So he would help. someone kind of speculated to me about Adolis Garcia as a possible Jays target. Don't know if that's going to go anywhere. He's not having the best year, but
No, he's not.
yeah, there's a lot of names. And I think, I think, the Jays and Atkins could definitely surprise us.
Run us through your perfect deadline. Ben Nicholson-Smith, if they get these,
Wow.
don't go like the top end, but if you get some players, what do you think they could do to make it a great deadline?
Wow. Okay. So are we talking like the true A+ deadline or more like a B+ deadline?
B+, something that's truly like, pretty attainable.
We can expect. Yeah, like not
okay.
like realistic.
A B+ deadline.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna say Laureano. Let's give the Twitter GMs a little shout out here and toss Gregory Soto in. That one's for the Twitter GMs. It's a very viable scenario. I can't report that it's right or wrong.
They already are saying it's. There's people tweeting like eye emojis, Orioles, Blue Jays. Like it's very annoying. But yeah.
Well, I will say this: if that deal happens now, the Jays are going to pay a steep price because that's just if you get those guys on July 22nd, it's more expensive.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's say Laureano, Soto, let's say Cade Smith, as like a shutdown. Maybe that's more A+. That's A+. But I gotta dial it back. Yeah.
No,
that's a little on the back end with
that's the A+. I gotta dial that back.
And Y-Rod, sorry too.
Yeah. So then for the B+, let's put Bednar in. I think that's a realistic sort of target.
Yep.
So then you got Bednar, Gregory Soto, Ramon Laureano, and Steven Matz. Maybe that's an A-.
I like that.
I like Steve.
I might have pushed it into an A-. Sorry, Avery.
Oh, we're gonna say that was C. You know what?
They have expectations high. I honestly, man, I do not see this team like picking up a project like you mentioned earlier. I know Gallen's out there. I mean, he's bottom 10 qualified starters ERA. So is Sandy Alcantara. I think whoever pays the price for those guys at this deadline are going to be regretting it heavily, especially when you're in a playoff push. I think that's the biggest thing. But one name that has been a guy that has really heated up the past week, I saw his last 10 games hitting like 360, is Luis Robert. Do you think that asking price will be very high? I mean, the numbers are still very below like subpar, but where are you at with the Luis Robert talk in terms of like Blue Jays or any team in general?
Yeah, I've really been out on him like leading up to this whole deadline just because he's not producing. And I think that anytime that you have a player who's just not producing to their potential, it's hard to really buy in. If he can sustain this for another week, and then all of a sudden you're looking at 10 days, 2 weeks of really good production, at that point you could take a flyer on the talent. And obviously as a right-handed hitter who gives you like real plus power, that could be pretty appealing for this team because they have a lot of like lefty hitters who don't strike out. And I think that getting real plus power from the right side would be great. So I guess I would say I'm intrigued, but I am not sold on the concept. And as of today, I would say I'm out.
I like being out on that just because even effort wise, I know he's on the worst team to ever play baseball. And I feel like he would just turn it around as soon as he goes. But
to play devil's advocate, it did happen to like a Gavin Sheets and an Andrew Vaughn. Like once they left the White Sox, they started producing. I mean, a lot of it is environment, but you are going to pay a steep price, and it's not going to sit well with the fans if you give up a lot of assets for a guy hitting like 190, right?
Yeah, I do think the White Sox probably have to trade him, though, because I think his options are pretty expensive. So unless they plan on picking up those options, which I guess they could, because they probably don't have a lot else on the books, but it might kind of make sense to trade him. Same with Seth Lugo. Like the Royals, they're kind of in it for now, but in another week, if they haven't made a real push, they probably have to trade Seth Lugo. And again, he's probably in that same like Keller zone where he's not like going to miss a ton of bats. He's not going to be like this dominant, 10 strikeouts type of pitcher, but he's still pretty good. And so I think Kansas City is going to kind of realize that they need to trade him. They need to get what they can back for him. And then that will be one more arm on the market, but it's still going to be pretty thin, I think, for pitching.
What do you think about 6-man rotation? It feels pretty smart in a way where these guys need some rest. Like Gosman on extra rest is good. Barrios, the velos up and down kind of every start. Do you think 6-man rotation is viable?
I mean, maybe that's the way to do it, where you don't bump anyone from the rotation and you just add someone. Now, like at a certain point, I don't have the August schedule in front of me here right now, but depending on how many off days they have in August, you might not want to do that, because if you have a 6-man and you have a lot of off days, then you're kind of pitching once a week. And talking to pitchers over the years, I don't think they really love that. It's just such a fine line with them and their routines. I think that they like getting an extra day occasionally, but I'd have to kind of take a look at the schedule. But honestly, it could be a good way just to give some guys some breathers, make sure that they're not overdoing it. I mean, it's the Dodgers do it, right? Pretty much all year. Like, they're not having their main starters pitch on 4 days rest very often. So if it works for the Dodgers, it might be worth looking at least for a few weeks.
Do you think where do you think the trade value lies in terms of prospects that Blue Jays fans love throwing in prospect packages, like an Aurelvis Martinez? Do you think an Aurelvis Martinez is has played himself into a throw-in now for a trade, or do you think other GMs see the kind of potential and the power of the bat? Because I'll be honest with you, as a prospect, not a prospect hater, but it's like my bit, he has helped my cause in terms of like this guy that used to be like untouchable 2 years ago is now just hitting 160 in AAA.
100%, and he's not playing great defense, and the whole total package of him as a player is kind of like, what do you have here? So I mean, I think that's a great kind of reminder that prospects don't often turn out. I don't think his value is very high right now. I do think, yeah, I mean, you could probably get him plus another prospect, probably gets you a reliever, I would think, but like that's not exactly high praise,
What about a guy like Alan Rodin, who has had actually good numbers in AAA, who is still hitting the ball pretty hard, elevating the baseball and hitting home runs? Like, do you think Alan Rodin would have more of like a needle mover in terms of adding to a package for a big league arm?
I actually do think so. And I mean, if you look back at the trade, probably the best trade that any team made last year was the Marlins absolutely fleecing the Baltimore Orioles out of Kyle Stowers. And I thought this isn't like 2020. I honestly, at the time, I was like, why is Baltimore doing this? Trevor Rogers isn't even that great. And then Kyle Stowers now already has 20 homers with the Marlins. Looks like a great pickup for them. But the point being that to get a starter with some control, the Orioles gave up 2 kind of big league ready prospects in Stowers and Connor Norby. So I think for the Jays, if you were to kind of map that onto them right now, let's say you're talking to the Pirates about Mitch Keller. Well, is someone like a Rodin or a Clase kind of enough to really get that conversation off the ground? And it would take multiple prospects, of course. You're never going to see a starting pitcher traded at the deadline for one player. It's always 2, 3, sometimes 4 prospects. 3 is usually the magic number. And so I think Rodin or Clase could be like one of those. And then guys like, I mean, I want to hear who you guys would hold on to among this group. But to me, like Loper Fido, Will Wagner, they could be traded. Leo Jimenez could be traded. Pinongo could be traded. RJ Schreck could be traded. And I think they probably will trade from that group in some capacity. So I don't know where you guys land on who to keep in there.
The one, Pinongo is the one I would keep of.
That's your untouchable?
Well, he's not untouchable.
Out of all those guys?
In that group, it's like him and Loper.
I mean, Loper Fido's had success this year in the majors, right? I mean,
like those are the 2 guys I probably like best.
I kind of like Pinongo too.
Yeah.
The metrics are really good, right?
I want him to be our Wilyer Abreu so that I think he just like looks like Wilyer. The swing's pretty similar. And if that works out, I mean, Willier's pretty great major leaguer right now, but yeah, I just picture him becoming Wilyer. So I like him.
Yeah, I could see that. That'd be a good one to hang on to. But hey, I mean, obviously, if you can get like a shutdown pitcher for him, then you got to do it.
Absolutely. Eugenio Suarez.
Oh,
it's going to be the number 1 target. He's doing the Santandere 300 OBP, but the most home runs of all time. Is he a Yankee? Is he a Seattle Mariner? Or is he going to go somewhere else?
Do you see who the Diamondbacks are playing the next 3 series, though? If they win out those, they're like a playoff. Like they're battling for the playoffs, though.
That's my hope at that point. They win too much to not trade.
Yeah.
They have an easy schedule.
Very easy. I think it's it's Rockies and then another team. It's literally like a very, very easy schedule.
Rockies beating up on the Twins right now, really helping contenders around the league.
Yeah.
But, so I think with Suarez, he's so clearly the best hitter who could be available that it's going to be really interesting. And I think the Yankees, like they've had so many questions at third base kind of all year between Jazz and, everything since then. I think this is where you get into some really interesting kind of game theory and strategy as far as how do you handle the Yankees, because of course you don't want the Yankees to get Suarez, but at the same time, if you overpay for him as the Blue Jays, then you don't have anything else left to get pitching, and pitching is kind of your main need. So I think they stay engaged. If I was the Blue Jays, I would probably leak that I was super interested in Suarez just to make sure the Yankees pay a huge price for him.
The package, like say you're giving up Arjun, you're giving up Fred.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That could be some 3D chess if they want to go down that path. But the drop off is big too, because there are other third basemen out there, and it seems like this is me reading between the lines, but I think the Pirates would love to get rid of Ke'Bryan Hayes. And it's, he's a really good defensive player, but he's really not hitting at all. So if the Yankees ended up with Ke'Bryan Hayes, that would be, I think, it would have Joey Gallo potential, just because he isn't hitting much. So Ryan McMahon maybe is in between. I think the Rockies are probably more willing to engage than they have been in years past. So maybe someone like McMahon moves. But there is a big drop-off in the Yankees, Tigers, Cubs, Jays, Mariners. They all probably need to be in that market. So there's going to be competition. Obviously, it's 35 dingers. Like, of course, there's going to be competition for Suarez.
I speak for all Yankee fans when I say I want Ke'Bryan Hayes on my team.
Who's your are the Yankees your biggest nemesis, Johnny, as far as
like they're probably the fan base that like tells me to die in my DMs probably the most, or like consistently comes at me on Twitter. I'd probably say, I warrant it obviously because I'm a massive Jays fan, but yeah, the Yankees are my biggest nemesis, and rightfully so. Obviously, especially right now battling for the division, and then you have the Michael K comments about the World Series stuff kind of amplify the hate between those. I got a nice DM from Jamie Campbell saying thanks for riding with him.
Are you
yes
Spencer Jones guy? Do you think he can do it?
A Spencer Jones guy?
Yeah.
I honestly don't have a take on that one. So
I want you to have a take.
I would tell if I had a hot take to drop, I would tell you, but I don't really have an opinion one way or the other.
I want him to be an all-star in the National League so bad.
Yeah. He goes to the D-backs and he's like their Gabriel Moreno. Except he's not good probably, but yeah. that would absolutely rock. Just trade deadline time. This is probably this is the first in my lifetime at least that Toronto Blue Jays have been in this kind of position. First place in the division where they kind of have to upgrade to just stay consistent and stay better. But one thing that I always see people tweeting at me of is they don't want to trade guys because they don't want to ruin the locker room dynamic. Where do you stand with that? Because if that was the case, teams would never trade at the deadline. You want to get better. And if I'm a Chris Bassett, I don't have many years left. Like Goffman, I don't have many years left in the majors. I want my GM to go all in. Like I don't care about these I want them to go all in because this is the best chance they've ever had since 1993, probably in terms of like winning a World Series. It's like they're first in the division by the trade deadline.
Yeah, like it definitely since 2016, their chances have never been better to advance deep into the playoffs. That's pretty much just a fact that they're putting themselves in an awesome position. I think like every single time I've covered a team that has been in position to add, the players always want more, and they always are fine giving up prospects. And I think that's the way it should be. And I think for fans too, like, some fans are really dialed in on the prospects, but for the most part, fans want to see the team win now. And, front offices try to be measured against that. And this is where whenever I see the phrase like all in, I really bristle. I just think it's like not an accurate phrase. So they're not all in. Like they still want to be good next year. It's not like they're going to trade everyone to, max their 2025 wins. But I do think that they're going to be really motivated. And yeah, I think they're going to add a lot. Like what in your guys' mind, like what would be a status, like a decent deadline for you?
I kind of like, honestly, I've talked myself into Cade Smith an insane amount, and I'm just picturing that bullpen. Like, again, you have guys that I trust now, like Eric Lauer, Max Scherzer, hopefully he stays healthy. Gossman looked awesome. Barrios, Bassett. Like, if you can build from the bullpen, I think this is a scary, scary baseball team because you're going to get those early leads. Or if you're down by 1 or 2, that bullpen's going to hold that and let your offense chip away at it. So for me, I really want a Cade Smith, man. Cade Smith, David Bednar. And then, like you mentioned, Laureano, just a bat that could hit for a little bit of pop. But Cade Smith, I've talked myself into him like crazy, and I don't know what the cost would that for a guy like that would be. It'd probably be ridiculous.
Do you
Bro.
think Duran or Clase end up getting moved?
I think Emmanuel Clase gets traded.
Nice.
I would say yeah, because if you're the Guardians, you should trade him.
Just drive him north.
Yeah.
Might be a Dodger.
Like
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like, I understand the less sexy names, like the metrics on some of them, they can have good pitches, but you get a guy with a name and a frame like that in your back end.
And he throws 100.
It just feels a little different. Right?
I don't know if you saw the stat, BNS, but the Jays are one of only 2 teams in baseball that have never had a pitcher throw over 100 this season or hit 100. So
Yeah, I have seen that. Like they could really use some super high octane velo down there. Like they could use, I mean, Hoffman, I think he's kind of back on track, which is great because, that's such a development for that bullpen. But they could use another, fling, because you never know who's going to slip going in and out of a hot tub, right? Like you don't know this stuff. And so this is the thing about the deadline. Even though the team is rolling now, I think that one of the reasons they have to be super motivated is there are no more August trades. This is it. Like after a week from, Thursday, this is it. You can't go out there and add anyone. So I just think they need to be really motivated to just get some of that swing and miss, because then in the playoffs, people might hate it, but it's going to be 2 times through for the starters, turn it to the bullpen, let Schneider do his mixing and matching, which he's been doing a really good job of lately, and then see if you can win.
Is my last question here. Is there a guy that's not being mentioned at all, any of the tabloids, the tweets, that you think gets moved?
Man,
I love the Garcia one. The Garcia was a name that I hadn't thought of.
Yeah, I'll cheat and count that as my name.
That's a great one.
So, sorry, Avery. I if I think of another one in the next minute or so, I'll tell you. But for now, let's go with that.
You were DeGrom pilled when you texted me. You said you love DeGrom. That dream's probably dead, right? I mean,
I think so.
Yeah, he's never coming to Canada. He's a true American patriot, probably. So, I mean, he's definitely never coming to Canada. But another name that I saw that people have kind of thrown around, and I think Red Sox fans already think he's a Red Sox, but Josh Naylor. I mean, with Santandere essentially like just enjoying vacationing in Dunedin, adding that bat to the Toronto Blue Jays lineup would be sick. Do you think that name would garnish like a massive haul for prospects as a rental?
Man, that's actually such an interesting idea, because I can say this, that in the course of the offseason, the Blue Jays were talking to the Guardians a lot, right? When they were getting Jimenez and Straw, they had a lot of conversations with them, and then Naylor came up. Like the Jays did have discussions with Cleveland about that possibility before he was shipped to Arizona. Now, things have really changed since then for everyone involved. I could see it, and he's a rental too, because here's the thing. You don't want to get a long-term DH, but Naylor, you could just let him hit free agency. Then you go back to Springer, Santander, Vlad. They're taking up the first base, corner, outfield, DH spots. So that remains kind of undisturbed. So I think if the Blue Jays have serious doubts about Santander's ability to return at all, I mean, Naylor would fit. Like vibes-wise, like I think he kind of would fit the vibe of this team in a way. Not to just over-fixate on every Canadian player, but I honestly think he kind of would fit the vibe. It would be costly because there just aren't that many impact players out there, and he is that. But I would say I'm at least intrigued.
Yeah, I mean, he could be our little Russell Martin acquisition, a little Canadian guy coming home. But the last thing I wanted to talk to you about is obviously a prospect that I made my Twitter name Trade Johnny King. Do you think that's the type of guy that the Toronto Blue Jays kind of hold on to? I mean, he's 18 years old, like shoving in Dunedin right now, but that's probably a sexy prospect that a lot of teams probably have circled in negotiations with the Blue Jays. Like, do you think it would take a lot to move on from Johnny King if you're the Blue Jays?
Yeah, I think you're probably trying to get control back if you're moving him. Even though he's so young, obviously they liked him enough to take, was it 3rd round in the draft?
Yeah.
So they liked him enough to take him pretty high in the draft, and he's really performed since then. And he's really young, which teams like. So I think the value is pretty high. I don't think you're flipping him for someone who's on the brink of free agency necessarily. But then again, reliever prices are so high. So if that's what I probably wouldn't do it for a rental. I probably wouldn't do it for a relief rental. And I'm only speculating as far as like what the Jays would do, but clearly he's really achieving, and so he's going to be a very sought after prospect this next week or so.
Yeah, and we've talked to some guys in the organization, and they think the Jays should operate based off of the fact that Alek Manoah is like just not going to pitch for the Blue Jays this year in terms of like coming back and all that type of stuff. Like
penciling him in.
Penciling him in, yeah. Like just he's going to be guaranteed back a rotation spot in the middle of August. Like where do you stand with that?
To me, I just look at the other starters coming back from elbow repair, and I just don't want to underestimate how big of a procedure that is. Like when you look at Alcantara, when you look at Spencer Strider, Yuri Perez, Shane Bieber, like some of these guys have gotten to a really good point. Alcantara's been better. Yuri Perez has been amazing for the last month or so, and Strider too has been good, but there were bumps for all of them. And for Manoah, who's returning in a good case scenario on August 15th, if there's a month in there where he needs to find his footing in the major leagues, that would be A, like totally understandable, but then B, a little problematic for the Jays. So I don't know. He's been really good before. Maybe it'll happen 3 weeks from now, but I wouldn't be stunned if it takes more than another few weeks for him to be fully ready against the best hitters in the world.
Do you think he'll take it well if he's optioned?
Oh, no fucking chance in hell he'll take that well. No chance.
I mean, honestly, I could see if he's just like, he actually could be very aligned with the team on this. I actually could see that because, like, let's say he's just kind of still searching for the command, and at that point, an optional assignment would really be just extending the rehab. So I don't think it would necessarily be anything like bad, and the vibes are so good around the team. I think they're going to stay pretty good for a bit, because there's so much goodwill everywhere that I don't think this is in danger of just falling apart.
Yeah, you shouldn't try to get his footing in the middle of a division title race. Like, that's just not how things should work. If the Jays were in like fourth, like throw Manoah on August 15th, right? So that's
they might need him. So that's the other thing.
Yeah. Anyways, BNS, I mean, the vibes, man. I mean, this is the most fun I've had watching the Blue Jays in so long. Every single time I think, okay, this is going to probably be like a soft spot. They'll probably lose this game like yesterday. They just wax. I mean, just awesome stuff. So we appreciate you coming on. We're looking forward to seeing you break some stuff. I've actually retired from the Sources game, so I will not be doing anything along those lines.
Wow. Retired at the top of your game, eh? You just went out on top.
9-0. Never broke a false source, so we love to see it. But BNS, man, I mean, hopefully you're enjoying it as much as we are, man. Obviously, you have to cover the team and be a little bit more unbiased, but what a fun summer this has been so far. We appreciate you coming on this, and can't wait to see the moves that happen. I really can't wait to see.
Yeah, I'm excited too, guys. Thanks so much. Congrats on the success with the pod. I am a listener now, so appreciate your questions and time here today.